And first of all, I'm so excited we're having this discussion. It is such an important topic, and I just keep emphasizing a couple things whenever we get a chance to talk about it. The first is what we're all trying to grapple with is how do we, what are the talent solutions for the future of the country? There's amazing talent everywhere, and are we thinking about this in as intentional way as we should? And second point I'd emphasize is how are we thinking about this, not even as much as I love the topic of the panel, that we really have to think about this as a K-16 arena and not, you know, elementary, middle, high school, and college. Every time we fall into that trap, someone has someone else to point a finger at and say, well, if middle school did their job, high school would be fine. And higher ed then gets to say, well, if high schools did their job, we'd be fine. So with those two big things, it's such an important topic. I'd say our big learnings, you know, about 5 years ago, we published our first ever, the college completion report, where we tracked all of our original alumni. And we tracked everyone from 8th grade on. So I want to emphasize, not just our graduating seniors, but our 8th graders. And we said, well, how did they do? And what we discovered is roughly 35% of our alums had a BA degree. And we were disheartened because our whole idea at Kipp from the very beginning was preparing kids to climb the mountain to college and a lifetime of opportunity. And what was more interesting is we said, well, how did we get here? And what we ended up discovering is if we went back in time and we looked at what happened to those original 8th graders, how many of them went to college, and which college did they go to? And we looked 10 years back and we predicted based on where they went, it said 35% would get BA degrees. No joke, literally. So we said, wow, this is sort of wild. Now, the bad news, it was not where we want to be. The good news was we realized we had insight that we could act upon. So we shared that with all of our regions across the country. We said, let's get at this. Let me combine that with a quick personal story. Around that time, I was visiting our schools in Austin, Texas, our high school, and I met a young Kippster, young, she was a senior, and I asked her what she's up to, and she's applying. She said, I'm applying to 2 colleges. I'm applying to Harvard and Austin Community College. And I said, I'm so glad you're applying. That's that's an interesting choice of 2 schools. And we began to realize that we, on our own watch, weren't doing what we needed to do. So the few things we've been doing since then is we built out a system where, you know, it's nothing anyone can't do. We have a data system informed by the publicly available data and then how our Kippsters do on campuses. So now when you're a junior at Kipp and you sit down with a counselor, you start with a list, a wish list that's customized based on your GPA, based on your test scores. So you start with that wish list. You're not obligated to apply to those schools, but we've actually identified them. And the big push is to make sure our kids apply to college the way middle class and affluent kids do. And so we want them to apply to at least 6 schools, 2 stretch, 2 that you'd probably view as the sweet spot, and 2 is what you're likely to get into, the right mix. In the class of 2014, 14% of our seniors did that. Last year's class, 73% of our seniors did that. So this is what we've been able to do in 4 years. I want to emphasize blocking and tackling, blocking and tackling. We're tracking this every week. The next thing we need to make sure you do is, are you starting off with the right list? Are you then applying the right list? Then are you getting your FAFSA in on time? We track that using all the data that everyone, publicly available data, or do you have all your, so you're ready for your aid? And then you have the decision-making period. And I would say, if you said, what's our next 2 biggest pain points? Happy to talk more. One is, you've got the right list to start, you apply to the right mix, you take care of your financial aid, and then when it comes to decision-making, do you pick the right school? And to date, 40% of Kipp seniors end up choosing still a school whose completion rates are 10 points below another one to which they've been admitted. And happy to talk about it. There's a lot of that has to do with financing. So we got to make sure they make the right choice at the end, and then you got to make sure they actually show up freshman year. Those are the things we're focused on right now. Right application mix. So when you have your financial aid in, you make the right, hopefully the best call for you once if you have more than one choice, and then you show up freshman year.